Good morning, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. It's nice to see such beautiful shining faces and some nice pictures of people as well, which is also nice. My name is Aurora Luna Star, and the work that I do is pretty much stretches the gamut of spirituality. But today we're going to talk about hacking sabotage because to me, what's most important about living spiritually is living practically and having practical tools for living our lives. We are in human form. So for me, that means that we are multidimensional and multi-layered. We have a lot going on in our energy field. We are not just our physical body. And of course, if we're dowsing, we know that, right? We can see a lot from dowsing, but even beyond, the more that we get to know energy and how it works, we get to really play with the field of creation. We definitely are in a matrix of energy, and that's okay. We chose to show up in our bodies in this time and space to experience this matrix and then show ourselves, and through example, show others on how to navigate what that means living in a matrix. So we'll start with the very beginning. I don't feel I'm going to share so much information with you today that you haven't already heard before. But what I'm hoping is that I'll be sharing it in a way that really hits home for you, brings you a greater level of awareness. And from there, what I'm hoping is that I can give you a couple of sneak hacks, if you will, on how to stop looping in the sabotage that we are all capable of creating. And please know that I include myself as a way shower, if that's what I am. I experience everything just like everyone else. I do not exclude myself from sharing that life lessons are very intense and that we all need a little bit of help. And where I may be on the journey is just a couple of steps ahead of you, and maybe not. Maybe some of you are exactly my peers. And however you all show up, I'm just in deep gratitude for your presence. So thank you for being here. And so we begin. So in our formative years, 0 to 7, we receive a lot of information. And similarly to driving a car and learning to drive that car and then be able to eat a bagel or change a radio station or answer the phone, but hopefully you're doing it hands-free. We can drive that car and do a lot of things simultaneously because we know how to drive the car. That ability is now in our subconscious. We can just do it on autopilot. Again, multitasking, paying attention to the road, to the lights, to the people on the bicycles, but we can also concurrently have a conversation, maybe nosh on something, and go about our day. Well, from 0 to 7, we receive information that starts to play in our mind, similarly to like when we learn to drive a car. Only that information can be really detrimental to who we are as beings of light on this planet, right? Because I believe that we are both divinity and human. And divinity can be classified as anything that feels most aligned for you, but it's something beyond the energy of this body. So I don't talk religion, but I talk energy and frequency. And so I believe in our frequency. What's been placed in the brain and how the brain works is that it will take that information and subconsciously start running a frequency based on not being enough, not being good enough, not having enough, not being the right kind of whomever you're expected to be, right? An expectation has been put on you. And you have to remember that this is lineages long, right? This is like time before time before time. All of this beautiful misprogramming and miscreation has been given to us from generations upon generations of energetic frequency that has been misaligned, right? It started forever and ever and ever ago. Yes, there were pockets of time like Lemuria where the download of information that was on the planet was actually a much higher frequency and vibration. But through whatever story you believe is your truth of what happened during that time, which to me, ultimately, I believe in lots of conspiracy, but I don't tend to dip very far into the rabbit hole because I don't want to get stuck there. To me, there's distortion in our world. Why it's there to me ultimately doesn't matter. What I want to know is now how to live my best life, how to feel empowered, right? I don't want that programming that I'm not enough. I'm an adopted child. I'm an abused child. I have a lot of fun programming in my field from 0 to 7. In the adoption, my life was saved, and gratefully I am here with all of you because of that. But really, before that, a lot of misinformation and miscreation was put into the field. So it has been my life's work since my awakening, which is about 15 years long and continues, of course, to figure out how to deal with all of that information. Because honestly, we all know that we need to take responsibility for how we feel, but that victim energy creeps up a lot. We are now dealing with this eclipse energy. We're headed towards solstice energy. And while again, these frequencies don't run us, they give us a map. They give us a vision of how to continue to proceed. I love astrology because it shows me, oh, if I pay attention to this piece of information, I can circumvent it. I can hack it. I can walk around it, right? We're in Mercury retrograde, but that doesn't mean it has to take over our lives. It means that if we pay attention and we ground deeper into our body, right? Because we're in Mercury retrograde in the sign of Gemini, that's air. That means that we get stuck here. And a lot of times when we're here, we leave our body. When we leave our body, we forget things, we get triggered really easily, and we forget to come back to our center. We move into that victim energy. We take that 0 to 7 time period, and suddenly our inner child is driving the bus. But when our inner child is driving the bus, not only can her or his her feet, right, not reach the pedals, but generally they can't navigate very well and tend to drive into a brick wall. Well, I've driven into that brick wall enough times that now it's time to hack the sabotage. Because for whatever reason, our society has created these, let's call them pitfalls, to continue to not feel good enough, not pretty enough, not strong enough, right? Masculine has not been taught that it's okay for them to feel vulnerable or to share feelings, right? Men are not allowed to have feelings at all. If they have them, they have to keep them inside. And then women are taught that we need to be in service and to be in servitude to the point where we don't get to have our own opinions. And if we have them, suddenly we're radical or we're speaking out of turn. And all of this programming has created a miscreation between the masculine and the feminine, not just in this world, but within ourselves, right? The men don't get to feel their feminine energy, and the women don't get empowered by their masculine energy. And when we're balancing the two within us, there's actually quite an amazing harmony that takes place. If you look at us as energy, it's our thoughts, our words, and our feelings that create everything around us all the time. It's fun having a dog because he reminds me. He can hear what I'm thinking. And oftentimes he'll let out a big sigh if my mind is looping on something, right? The ego likes to chew on things. And generally, the ego likes to chew on the things that are lower vibration in our thoughts. The things that tell us we're not enough. The things that tell us that we're doing the wrong thing or we're not going to succeed. Why even bother? What does empowerment look like? I've never been empowered. So how do I even know? I don't need to try. I live comfortably uncomfortable, and I'm okay with that because everything is status quo. I don't want to rock the boat, right? All of those thoughts constantly keeping us in a very small space. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go and become a lecturer speaker and need to reach hundreds of thousands of people. Again, when you choose empowerment for your own self and you hack the sabotage of looping through those energies, simply by embodying yourself and grounding into the energy of who you are, as I feel a divine being, you then start to show other people that they have permission to do it too. And that's how we shift a paradigm. That's how we change energy, right? The frequency that I send out says, I am confident, I am strong, I am human, and I may fall, but I will pick myself up and I will brush myself off. And I won't hold myself hostage for making mistakes. I'll make them, I'll learn for them, and I'll navigate a way not to continue to loop back into them. Something important to know is that when we loop, so let's say you think you've cleared something, because we all have a feeling of accomplishment in our journey, right? Oh, I'm done processing that, I've cleared it. But then of course, at some point it will show up again because we are layered in energy. What we reach is the next octave of that experience. So it's important to know that as we move through this journey of life, we are constantly moving in energy. We can repeat a pattern, but generally when we repeat it, we'll reach the next experience of it. Sometimes it gets harder because we're not choosing to address the loop, right? And sometimes it gets easier because we recognize it faster and we're able to work through it more quickly. The Dalai Lama will not say that there is no emotion and that he does not feel fear, anger, or any other of these lower vibrational emotions that we're here to feel the whole spectrum of. We're not meant to bypass them. We are meant to feel them. But what he'll say is that he gets to completion with it. He finds a hack, if you will, for it very quickly, right? That's what we're looking to do. We're not looking to avoid feelings. We're really looking to feel them, experience them. But when we want to hack them, we want to remember who we are and why we're here. Our purpose in being here is to, if nothing else, be of service. Our purpose in being, and service can be anything, by the way, a smile, holding a door open for someone, offering kindness and compassion and forgiveness. Those are the reasons for our existence, period. We're not being judged by some massive creator somewhere. We're the ones doing the judging. The creator, the energy of all that is not judging us. There is only love. There is only light. Again, that is my personal truth. But we tend to fall into judgment because it helps us. When we're fearful, judgment can help us identify something, right? But what happens is judgment keeps us locked into a trigger, because if we have to say you and not me, then we're missing something. We're triggered by something within ourselves. In discernment, we're using the same tools to say this is or is not for me, but we're not separate from it. I'll give you a quick example. Something I used to really get caught up in was traffic. I'm from Long Island, New York. And traffic is a thing, and getting cut off is a thing, and then being a New Yorker is a thing, right? So traffic used to be a very large trigger for me. And so I would ask, like, how do I come into my center? How do I come into my calm? Nobody is doing anything to hurt me. That had to be one of my first mantras, right? Everyone's doing them. They're trying to take care of themselves. They could be selfish, perhaps, but they may also be rushing to the hospital, or they may be late for a job interview, or something in their lives may be happening that they just are trying to get to. And the minute that you hold that awareness, suddenly my trigger's gone, because we've all got things going on in the field that we're trying to navigate desperately. So for instance, is in Sedona, we have a lot of roundabouts. I have no idea why they've put them in, because they actually create a lot of chaos, but nonetheless, they're here and we have many of them. There was a gentleman waiting to come out. It was 2 years ago, Christmas time, and a lot of cars were coming. So he had to wait, he had to wait, he had to wait. And as I went through, because it was my right of way, he cursed me out. And I just held space for him. Loving space. I could feel, so at this stage of the journey now, I can feel into people's energy fields, and I try not to tap in too far because it's really none of my business. Everybody gets to be who they are without me peeking through the veil. But I could feel that he didn't feel seen. There was something around Christmas that was not working for him, whether he couldn't make enough money or he couldn't buy the thing he wanted to buy. There was some frustration around the holiday itself, and it was grief. He was feeling just terrible. And so as I went through, I offered him a blessing and just said, may whatever he needs to have happen for him unfold, right? Just a simple prayer. And I can tell you from the esoteric side of things that I know that these little things that we do that seem like nothing are actually really big things on the other side. I don't want to get too far into that because I don't know what everyone's belief system is around that. But when we choose to be kind, when we choose to be graceful and offer someone else that grace, it's a really big deal. Another example of that is that there was someone, I wish I could remember his name, that was going to assassinate President Nixon. He had it all set up. He actually wrote a book, and I believe this information is in that book because he wrote an autobiography eventually from jail. He was ready to do it. And there was an older woman in the crowd that could feel whatever she could feel, right? Let's say it was just a specific frequency. And she looked at him and she could see there was something wrong. And she walked up to him and offered him her compassion. Are you okay? Do you need help? Is there something wrong? And he could feel this loving compassion vibration from her. And she foiled his entire plot. He'd been planning for at least a year. And this little old lady who knew nothing specifically about what was happening that day, that Nixon's life could have ended right that day for all we know. But this woman showed her compassion, her kindness, and potentially was that 100th monkey that just completely altered a timeline, which is unbelievable, right? So it's an awareness that we now have the ability, by choosing kindness, compassion, and love. Well, who needs that the most in this world? You do. And you know from whom? You. We're our worst enemies. I can look in the mirror and tell you there's a very nice filter going on right now with Zoom. And I probably should have taken it off, right? But it's taken at least 5 years off the wrinkles on my face. I'm 46 years old. Over COVID, I've gained at least 10 pounds, if not more. And I can look in the mirror and be very critical like everybody else. We are our own worst silliness, and we've been programmed. That's part of the programming. I once was sitting on a train on my way home from Manhattan, and there was a guy talking to another guy, and I guess they were talking about what they did for a living, right? You just strike up conversation because you've got an hour to pass by. And the gentleman asked what he was, what he did for a living. And the guy said straight up out loud, "It's my job to make 10-year-old girls feel bad about themselves." And I was floored, but he was aware and he wasn't proud of it. He said it almost like with a heavy heart. And that's what our society is filled with. We are taught to be consumers, because if we are consuming, we are not feeling, right? If we're buying that next best thing, whatever that thing is. And again, this is not new information. Anyone doing this work out there will tell you the same thing. We're out there doing, and we're not feeling, because feeling is hard. We may not feel safe in the body. We may not feel good about ourselves and where we are in our lives. We may have had expectations because those expectations were put on us by others, or even our own expectations for ourselves. I didn't expect to be 46 and single without a family. I didn't. And that has been a source of a trigger for me in a big way, especially I have 3 sisters, each married with 3 children, each one of them with 3 children. And I've got a dog. It's not exactly what I saw for myself. But if I were living life the way they were living it, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I know I'm doing now, right? We're all choosing different soul paths to do different things. And I get to be the cool aunt, so what could be better than that? But it's an awareness that we have been, again, programmed, right, to believe that life needs to look a certain way. And we become our own worst enemy. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Who am I to tell people how they can live their lives? I'm not a psychologist. I have a degree, but it's in marketing. But my spiritual path included many, many teachers from many walks of life. When I first started my journey, I was so thirsty, I couldn't get enough. And what kept coming back to me was this alignment that Patricia Cota Robles was saying the same things that Kenji Kumara was saying the same things that Jared Hewitt was saying. I started to notice this plot that I could lead back to a familiar awareness that I am not my body. I'm having a human experience. I'm meant to be grounded and I'm meant to be here. I don't need to go off to spaceships. I don't need to talk to angels. I could do those things and that's fun too, but that's not where I'm meant to live my life. My life is here in this body, in this now moment. And my job is to fiercely love myself and to hack the sabotage of the lie that I'm not enough, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not pretty enough, that I have to live a life that looks like everybody else. The word authentic means original, undisputed origin. Undisputed origin. So that to me means when I'm being authentic, I am being my source self, whatever source means for each one of us. That's a Webster Dictionary definition. Undisputed origin. I was actually, again, floored when I read that, to have that awareness that when we choose to be authentic, speak our truth from a loving place, right? When we choose to draw boundaries because we need to care for ourselves, that's because I'm stepping into the energy of my source. I'm choosing to be the best version of myself by honoring myself. We were never taught that. That's selfish, right? But we must. Part of hacking sabotage is choosing self-love. Yeah, salt baths are great, but I'm talking about fierce self-love. Yes, caring for the physical vessel, really important. However you feel aligned to do that. I love my pedicures. I get massages on occasion. You know, whatever the things are that we do to take care of my diet is a lot of the self-love. And yes, the inner child definitely won over COVID. There was a little more ice cream in my field than there should have been. Coconut ice cream, but ice cream nonetheless. But our agenda needs to start with us. When I think about my day, in order for me to serve my clients and students, right? I have a show on Awake TV network. I have a container of people in my Walking Mastery mentorship program. I teach a healing modality that I downloaded. I have to be here to do things. When my dad passed away in December, I wanted to go back to alcohol really badly. It called loud. And I wouldn't even consider myself, well, I would consider myself to have addiction in the field, but gratefully, I didn't need anything to stop. It was just choice, right? So I chose to stop smoking pot every day, and I chose to stop drinking because I wanted to start embodying more of who I am. And I get that that's not easy for everyone, and that's not everyone's path. For some people, there is medicine in the plants, and everybody has to take their journey around that stuff. For me, I had to let it go. And it was so interesting to feel that call come back. But for me, alcohol means I'm shutting everything off. I'm not being authentic. For me, alcohol means I want to escape. And that would be a problem because I'm responsible for about 50 people right now in my field, right? So I would not just be letting myself down. I would be letting down all the people that I've promised to show up for. But letting myself down has to be enough of a reason, even if those people weren't there, right? Because the bottom line is, I matter. I count. You matter. You count. You are a precious energy to this planet. If you think about the times of Jesus, there were definitely not nearly 8 billion people on the planet, right? We chose to be individual expressions in this lifetime, every single one of us with a special gift. Every single one of you has a special gift. The hack of sabotage is owning that. And your gift could be simply that you have an innocent nature and that you see the beauty in everything around you. Your gift could be that you know how to do puzzles really well. Your gift can be anything, right? I just watched the movie Soul by Disney, and it was really profound because it was the awareness that this little soul was afraid to come into human body because it couldn't find its purpose. But its purpose was just appreciating the beauty of everything around it. There were lots of actually lessons in the Disney movies. Some of them are great, especially the more modern films. And in the older films, a parent always has to die. But in this film, it was about, having an awareness that as a soul, as an essence, as a beingness, your purpose is what you choose. When people ask me, I don't know what to do with myself, the first thing I ask them is, what do you want to do? If you're sitting there waiting for the blue man to come down from a spaceship and talk to you in your living room, you're going to be waiting a long time. If you're waiting for the voice of God to strike a lightning bolt down in front of you, you're going to be waiting your whole lifetime. We are co-creators. What do you desire to create? What lights you up? What excites you? Because the manifestation point of anything is your vibration. Wendy Kennedy and a bunch of brilliant people did a movie called Tuning in 2008. They're all channelers. You can find it actually on Gaia, but you can also find it on YouTube for free. And in this movie, it's Daryl Anka as Bashar, it's Lee Carroll as Cryon, and a myriad of like maybe 6 other people or 5 other people. The importance in this movie is the sharing of what these channels brought through, because again, it's very simple information. It's not this, you have to jump through hoops in order to live the life you want to live. Wendy Kennedy and her Pleiadian counselor, whoever she channels, brought in the idea that you are frequency and you're excited about something that you desire to manifest. And so you're standing at the top of the building, on top of the world, and you throw out a boomerang. And that boomerang has all of your wishes, all of your desires, everything that you want to create in this world for yourself. And then you sit and you wait while that boomerang is coming back. And while that boomerang is coming back, you start to doubt. And you start to wonder if you're worth it. And you start to wonder if you dream too big. And you start to feel like, well, I don't need that stupid dream anyway. And now the boomerang comes back, but you're not standing there anymore. That's a really, really, really important piece of the puzzle. Because everything begins and ends with you. Everything. You are the co-creator. When I say co, I believe in a source. I don't believe we're doing it on our own. I believe that source is constantly saying, I love you, come home. I love you, come home. I love you, come home. And come home doesn't mean die and leave your body. We're all going to get there. None of us are getting out alive, right? We've all got to go when our time comes, whatever that means for each one of us. However, come home means come back to your heart. Raise your frequency, raise your vibrations, choose your thoughts. And when you hear that inner child, so I'll give you another example. I do a lot of sound healing, crystal bowls, all that kind of fun stuff. And I had a client here for a week-long VIP retreat. And some of the notes got really high. Like if my dog had been in the house, he would have for sure been howling. And my inner child says, she probably wants to plug her ears right now. And I was like, oh, I'm like, inner child, I love you. I've got work to do. I love you. I've got work to do. Really important. When I bring through information and energy, I'm a channel. I'm a container. My ego has no place or opinion in the issue of what's coming through on behalf of someone. And sure enough, the client tells me at the end of the session, when you hit those high notes, my heart just expanded. And I'm like, so you want to know what my inner kid was saying? That's the hacking sabotage. That's the saying, I love you, little girl, and I'm driving the bus. I use music. I use mantras, and the mantras don't have to be Sanskrit. Yeah, you can use Om Mani Padme Hum. I'm down with that. I'm sure Kuan Yin would be happy if everyone was singing that all day long. But you can just say, I am and I can. You can just say, I am and I create. I am sovereign. You can give yourself many expressions. When your brain starts saying, I'm not enough, you can say, but I am. I am enough. I am enough. You can fake it till you make it. And I can tell you that there have been times in my life where I've had to. When I first met John Burgos and did my first telesummit for spiritual stuff, I just had my car repossessed. I was living in a shack that was about 350 square feet that didn't even have a bathroom. I had to leave that shack to go into the main house to go to the bathroom, which led to some other interesting stories that I will not share in this now moment. So I've created classrooms for myself with lots of challenge on purpose so that I could show you that now I live in a 150 square foot house with Thunder Mountain right outside my window in Sedona. Is my life absolutely perfect and dreamlike? No, I got lots of nonsense. My sister and I are still navigating, not speaking to each other right now because of what happened when my father passed away, and my own inner child feelings towards that. But I have an awareness that I need to hold that space of forgiveness. I need to get over that piece. And I also know that if she called me tomorrow, I would be on a plane and be there for her. So this isn't about not being human. This is about being exactly who we are, owning it, loving it, and bringing in that fierce authenticity and that fierce self-love. And no, it's not easy. I used to sit there and say, I proclaim to all that is, I am self-love. And I got that sentence from Jared Hewitt. It's part of he wrote a book. And I needed those words in order to navigate the energy I was in. I got into a fight with two friends, moved into a new place, and I just felt like I'd lost everything when I was living in Shasta at the time. And those words were really, 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 really helpful. But just, I am self-love, right? I am and I can. I am one with all that is. I am and I create. I am and I thrive. Thriving is a vibrational frequency. In order to thrive like a Tony Robbins, this guy walks his talk. Every day he chooses his thoughts, his vibration, every day, right? Meditation does not have to be sitting still. Meditation can be dancing. Meditation can be drumming. Meditation can be walking. I have a friend in England who I love to pieces. She's got, I think, 7 grandchildren. And she loves ironing. So she'll sit there and she'll iron their clothes. And that for her is a form of meditation. Meditation does not have to be sitting on a mountain and oming for hours, though if you choose that, that's pretty awesome too, because sound is a very powerful healing tool and we get to make it. It's not just what we can hear and experience outside of us, but making tones. When you're angry, right? Your cells remember everything. If you've ever looked at Dr. Emoto's work, water has an energetic that remembers love, right? Harmony. It makes these beautiful crystalline looking snowflakes. And so does hate. And so do other low vibrational words, except those things create muck. They actually turn brown. The crystalline cells of water actually turn brown. Now that's your body is mostly water. So if you're telling yourself, I'm not enough, I don't deserve it, I don't love myself, look how ugly I am, look how old I've gotten, look at all these wrinkles and my gray hair and my big butt. If that's what you're telling yourself, your cellular structure is remembering that. That's science. And your body is creating dis-ease, which is also science, right? If anyone has read Anita Marjani's book, Dying to Be Me, she was in a coma. She was out of her body. And she had a choice because she was shown that heaven, for lack of a better word, heaven is a choice. Choosing high vibration is a choice. Or, she could have died, or she could have gone back into her body and she healed herself. Now, yes, those stories are unique. And the reason why they are unique is because we get addicted to our story. We get addicted to being complainers. We get addicted to being sick. We get addicted to talking about drama and talking about other people so that we're not focused on our own stuff. That's part of the sabotage too, right? So what I want to do right now with everyone is just a little process. It's a really easy meditation. And what I want you to know is that whatever your truth is the most important. So if I say something that doesn't feel aligned for you, we're going to toss it. We're going to put a box in the middle of our meditation space. We're tossing things in the box. But if I say something that doesn't align for you, you're going to toss that in the box too. Because the most important job that I have on the planet in this lifetime is to show people empowerment. My job is not to make you dependent or codependent on anything I say or believe. I believe many things, and you're meant to figure out what those things are for you. And I had clients asking me about the vaccination. I almost fell down and said, go back home, feel into your body about your truth. I am not telling you what to do. That'll never happen, right? We all need to figure out what our truth is. So if I say anything in this little meditation, toss it in the box if it's not your truth, okay? So I'm going to ask everyone to just close their eyes and take 3 deep but gentle breaths. And I'm going to ask everyone to call in their teams of light, whatever that means for you. And if that doesn't mean anything to you, then you're going to see that box in the center of the room, and already you're going to throw that in. I believe there are a lot of beings out there to support us, from Gaia and all her kingdoms to our ancestors and all the ascended. So if any of that works for you, call them in. If none of that works for you, then just throw it in the box. And I'm going to ask you to take several deep breaths so just know that this is intention. So if you can't see it and you can't feel it, know that if you choose to intend it, it just is. Seeing in your mind's eye just a beautiful golden light that as you breathe, it goes directly into the heart space. And as you're inhaling, it's filling your whole body. And as you exhale, you're just feeling the energy that is you expand around you. You are a physical, emotional, mental, and etheric being of light. So just keep breathing in that golden light. And on the exhale, feeling how your energy expands around you. And in this box that we have in front of us, we're going to start throwing out some trash. So I'm going to throw into my box a bunch of things, and you can throw them in with me, and you can also start thinking of your own things as well, if I don't mention them. So the first thing I'm going to throw into my box is the next layer of judgment that I'm willing to let go of. I don't want to judge my brothers and sisters. I want to love them. But I have to stop judging myself first in order for that to happen. So I'm going to throw judgment into the box. And I'm going to throw harmful thoughts against myself into the box. Thoughts of being less than, thoughts of being in lack, thoughts of being not good enough. I want all those thoughts in the box. And I'm going to throw in the box any memories of who I've been in the past that might be holding me hostage. So any thoughts of things I've done from the past that I still feel shame around, I'm going to throw that into the box. I am not that person anymore. I'm evolving. I'm integrating. I'm becoming. I'm going to make mistakes, but I can't hold myself hostage for those mistakes forever. So I'm going to throw that into the box. And we're going to go throw in anything that tells myself that I am anything less than amazing. So any of these thoughts that try to put me down and keep me small, I'm going to put all of that into the box. And I'm also going to put into the box expectation. It's a very tricky frequency because when we have expectation, we end up disappointed. But if we can just go with the flow with an open mind and an open heart, anything can happen. So I want to put in the box expectation because it limits my belief of who I am and what I can do. So we're going to put into the box expectation. And we're going to close that box up, and I'm going to imagine or envision a violet flame just transmuting all of that energy in the box. And we're going to transmute that energy, whatever we've been willing to let go of just in this now moment, right? Whatever's perfect for right now, we're going to let that go. And what we're going to see now in our mind's eye, or just with our intention, starting with the crown, I'm going to go through our chakras really simply, just with the mantras that I use. When I connect with great grandfather, I have a beautiful bison skull, and I sage him every morning. And as I sage him and thank him for his presence in my life, I go through my chakra system with the sage, and I say these words to myself. So starting with the crown, I am one with all that is. And with the third eye, or the pineal gland, I believe my intuition. And with the throat chakra, I speak divine truth with love. And with the heart, I am love. And with the solar plexus, I am and I can. And with the sacral, I am and I create. And with the root, I am and I thrive. And just seeing now in your mind's eye a beautiful pink light that weaves a cocoon, starting at the crown, weaving a cocoon of memory of who we are as soul. Ease and grace on our path and our journey. And just so much love all the way down to the bottoms of the feet. And when you feel this process is complete, you may open your eyes and come back to the space. So I'm going to say thank you everyone for participating. I think what we were going to do now is Chris was going to help me navigate setting up the space so that I can answer if anyone has any questions. Wow, a lot of energy still coming through. And also know I'm going to have a breakout room. It looks like for a short time only because closing ceremony is going to be at 1:15. But you'll also be able to reach me at my email, which is auroralunastar@gmail.com. And I'll give you all that information. My website is auroralunastar.com, and the spelling of all that fun stuff. And I do have 5 free meditations. So when you join my email list, you automatically get that Dropbox, and you can listen to those. Thank you. I'm trying to type something, but I by accident, Mercury retrograde strikes again.
If anyone has any questions, put them in chat.
Yeah, you can put them in chat for sure. Thank you everyone for the messages. Oh, thank you. So an honor to be a part of this community. This is a new group for me. Any questions at all? Anybody? It could be about anything. Oh, thanks, Cheryl. Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I promise. I can put some info here. I spelled it right, hopefully. I'm on Instagram.
Also, I'll be putting into chat speaker evaluations, a link to it along with the closing ceremony link.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
We do have a question from Margarita.
Yay.
Do you have a daily routine you practice to stay centered?
Oh my goodness, do I ever. I always joke around with people that the only difference between my clients and myself is my daily practice. Really, that's it. And it's solid, but it shifts. I'm an Aquarius with an Aquarius rising. So if you told me I could do one thing every day to ascend and all I had to do was do it for a year, I would never ascend. It would never happen. I ain't going nowhere because I'd get bored. So I need variety. So part of that is an awareness that gratitude is a huge part of my spiritual practice. The first thing I do is wake up every day with deep gratitude for the fact that I've got a roof over my head, that I've got a body that functions all on its own, that I call it divine perfect health. And it's not perfect. I've got things going on, but it's pretty close. And I'm in gratitude for that. My gratitude list is long and strong. I do a lot of prayer. I do a lot of connection with Gaia, with Mother Earth. Recently, I just had a client come to me in Sedona, and I do despacho work, which is a Peruvian tradition where you use flowers and seeds to create prayer for the earth and for humanity and for yourselves, and then you kind of create a mandala. It's really pretty with the flowers and the seeds, and you can make them in different shapes, heart shapes or circles or pyramids or whatever feels most aligned. But yeah, and I also am the constant gardener of my thoughts, meaning I could go to those negative places just like everybody else, right? So I start saying and using my mantras when my mind goes to dark places, because my mind loves the dark, but my heart does not, right? And I don't mind that there's darkness there, right? I see us as diamonds, and some of us are still we're still that lump of coal becoming. It's not all sparkly and shiny. We want people to see only the shiny parts. And someone once said to me, how can you be spiritual if you get angry? And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm human. How can I not get angry? The question is, what do I do with the anger? Right? Do I lash out at someone, or do I take responsibility for my trigger? Do I use it as fire to create something new, right? Is a situation no longer serving me? Is that why I'm angry? Am I angry because I didn't create the appropriate boundary? Am I angry because I'm afraid of something and someone might see that vulnerability within me? What is my anger because of, right? So my spiritual practice, great grandfather over there, he's part of it. I definitely connect with a lot of the First Nation ways from soul memory, not from this lifetime. But it's also, just an awareness that the more we choose how we feel, right? I sing in the shower. I sing, my life is beautiful and I create. My life is magical and I create. My life is beautiful and I create. And I'm grateful for everything. I do that to set a vibrational frequency. Like, I have a lot of clients and I love them. I do all this meditating in the morning and I do all these amazing things, and they do. And then life happens. And just like I was talking about with Wendy Kennedy, whatever you're doing in the morning is not good enough to get you through the whole day yet. We're not there yet, right? So you start your day off here, and then you talk to your boss, and then you talk to your kids, and then some crisis happens, and then this next thing happens, and then someone cuts you off, and then life, 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 which means during this time, we need more. I am and I can. Grounding, right? Connecting to the fact that we're in body on the earth is like why we're here. We all want to go to this very happy place out of body, because when we meditate, we get there super easily. But that's not why we're here. Not that we can't meditate and have those experiences. Of course, we're anchoring another dimensional frequency into this one. That's part of our job, right? We're taking these higher vibrations and making them present here. And we need to be here. So yeah, spiritual practice is all about definitely making choices and continuing to connect to things that make us feel good, right? I use the word divinity, but ultimately it's joy. What is your joy? What is the, like, when's the last time you whipped out some bubbles and just sat on your, out your window and blew some bubbles for the pure innocent joy of it? That's part of my spiritual practice. Are there any other questions in there, Chris?
Yes, we have a lot of your thoughts are quite in alignment with ACIM. Is that one of your sources?
No, but that's great. So that's kind of the point, right? Even my healing modality, Rising Phoenix Alchemy Healing, I couldn't be the only one downloading this information, right? To me, there's an infinite energetic of all that is. And all that is saying, hey, humanity, this is how you do it over there. This is how you can get into your good stuff over there. So no, it's not specifically that. I don't know that program, but I know I'm not the only one. Yeah, I don't know what ACIM is.
Another one asked, how are you first introduced to spirituality?
So, it's kind of like when you're not living your life purpose and spirit's trying to move things along, you kind of get knocked over the head. So I was living in Los Angeles and I just had every relationship collapse. I was engaged to someone that collapsed. Friendship started collapsing. Like everything just stopped feeling aligned. And so I moved back to New York because in New York at home at that time, my friendships and relationships were very strong. And I wanted to go back to what was familiar. I was tired of the LA energy and I wasn't awake yet, right? So who becomes one of my closest friends? Someone who teaches yoga. And who does she have renting her studio? A psychic medium. And so my journey started with my friend Nicole and this woman named Sandy Giranota. And I just interviewed Sandy on my show. If you go to my website, it's free for the next few days. If you go to my website at auroralunastar.com, and you click on Awake TV, which is the second tab, Sandy should be the second person down because Tuesday I'll be interviewing, I have my finale for the season. And so Sandy, she's an amazing being. And she really helped guide me for about the first 5 years of my journey. I mean, at that time I was still weaving in and out of other people's stuff, but I would see in person. And she looked at me and she's like, girl, you're drinking half a bottle of Jameson on a Friday night and you're smoking pot. Like, you need to decide what you're doing here. Are you going to take this spiritual stuff seriously, or are you going to live a very 3D existence? Because you have a choice. We all have a choice. Nobody's telling us what we have to do, right? We get to choose how we live. So she gave me like a 17-day prescription, if you will, and it was to let go of all of those things for 17 days. And then I had to meditate twice a day. And if I did if I drank for one of those days, I'd have to start my 17 all over again. And I was terrified. I mean, she's psychic, right? So I knew the minute that I did something, she would know. I was scared of that. So she really helped get me on that journey early on. Yeah. Any other questions?
At the moment, that's all I'm seeing here in chat.
Okay. We got.
Anyone else has any questions, feel free.
Oh, thank you, Nora. Thank you, all of you. Oh, Margarita's got one. What is my most challenging experience? Oh, I only get to share one. I'll say aside from my father's crossing, which was challenging on a family level, for him, I wanted his soul to be free because he lived 83 beautiful years, and the last 6 months of his life were challenging because my sisters couldn't let him go. So he had leukemia and he just went for blood transfusion after blood transfusion. And he tortured himself, A, because I think he was afraid of dying, but B, because my sisters just, anyway, it is what it is, and it's done. So that was a tough one for sure. I'd say one of the most challenging spiritual lessons I had was this concept of a twin flame, whether or not it's real, and how it really came in and wrecked my life because I had a belief around it. That was one big one. I met someone who I believe still to this day is my twin flame, but I got obsessed with the fact that we needed to be together and manifesting it in this life, and relationship has just been a big lesson for me overall, because I know that someone is coming, but I've let it go because that ego attachment, right? I talked about putting expectation. I should have also mentioned attachment. Expectation and attachment, they're both poison for us. Everyone's sovereign, no matter what we're doing in life. That was one big one. And the other big one I would say overcoming was I moved to Mexico at the beginning of I quit corporate America after 17 years of making very good money and living a very comfortable lifestyle for the spiritual journey. And when I moved to Mexico, I moved there because I was told I would get a job working with this group that did spiritual journeys. So I was like, oh my God, what could be better than being an assistant in this life of doing spiritual stuff instead of corporate life? But sure enough, I moved down there and she didn't hire me. So I moved down with 8 suitcases and my cat. And I didn't have a job all of a sudden. Now, gratefully, I had some resources, but not a lot. Because I didn't think all of that through. My soul said, we're going to put you through boot camp. And so boot camp it was, because I didn't speak the language very well. I didn't know a lot of people there. But I met an angel, really a live angel. We became friends, and there was a street called Paseo Monteo in Merida. And on this street on Saturdays and Sundays, people would do their thing. There were bakers and people who sold jewelry and clothing and whatever. I had cards. I had oracle cards. And so I laid them out on a table with a nice, tapestry and a statue of Lakshmi. I didn't know what else to do. And people came to me for readings. And so she would translate because I couldn't speak good enough Spanish at all, right? So talk about living on faith. I ended up living there for 6 whole months before I decided to return to New York, but I could have stayed. I ended up making a living for myself. People knew me as a healer, whatever that means, but really they're the healer. I was just holding space for them. They would come to my home. I was doing Reiki at that time in another healing modality that I teach or used to teach. And so that I would say that was a tough one because Mexico is like ants, mosquitoes, and humidity on a level that I had never experienced before. And they all had severe messages for me. So yeah, it was a lot of letting go of the ego or integrating the ego into more of a spiritual place and having a new level of appreciation for all that I had. Because I also witnessed poverty on a level that I'd never seen before. And that was very humbling to have an awareness of how much I had comparative to others. So that was an experience. Any other questions? Yes, Paseo Monteo, Merida, Yucatan. Yes, Juan Pablo. Oh, thanks, Margarita. Oh, thanks, Suzanne. Yeah, whatever will be, will be. Whatever, I've definitely lost my attachment to, I've left it up to source because I know when I choose someone from my ego, I'm choosing from different triggers and woundings, right? But if source is bringing someone into the field or my higher self, my soul, right? Not my ego or my personality, but when my godlike energy is making that choice, then it happens perfectly. It's the perfect person. It's the perfect time. There's no attachment. Whatever you need to know shows up. And so yeah, whatever will be, whenever it will be. It's good. Anything else? Anyone else? Oh, thank you. Thank you all so much. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up and for taking a chance with me. I know I'm a new name and a new face for a lot of you, and this was so much fun. I love gathering with people and sharing all that fun stuff. I'm actually in the process of writing a book about all these fun adventures, so that'll be a thing at some point, maybe in the next year. And yeah, thank you. Just thank you all. Deep, deep gratitude for it was very funny because at first there were like 5 people. I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk to 5 people today. And then gratefully you all ended up coming in, and it would have been the same for the 5. Whoever shows up is always perfect. So thank you. Any other questions? Anything else?